am the owner of Lefty Cakes, and I bake and decorate custom vintage cakes, and I run it all over Instagram. I think I've always been a creative person, especially when I was younger. I've always loved to paint, draw, make things with my hands, and so I also just got into cake decorating. So I got into cake decorating when I was about 10 years old. I was sick, so I was staying home from school, and the only thing that was on TV for 2 days was Cake Boss, so I binged it. And after I finished binge watching it for 2 days, my parents actually let me take cake decorating classes at Michael's and Joann's. So I took all of the classes they offered, went to them, loved all of it, and then did it for school projects. I would turn in a cake.
Do you consider yourself a cake boss now?
I would not consider myself a cake boss. Yeah, I think Buddy Velastra would still beat my butt. So not yet. And then following college, when I graduated, I would get home from work and I'd be really bored and I needed something to do to keep myself busy. So I thought maybe I'll get back into cake decorating. They're kind of trendy on TikTok right now. And so I just retaught myself, learned how to do vintage cakes, and posted it to Facebook Marketplace, and it kind of just took off from there. I offer a variety of cakes. The most popular cake I offer is a heart-shaped cake, and usually it's a 6-inch cake, which is usually great for parties or intimate dinners. I also offer a variety of tiered cakes for weddings or bigger celebrations, and then just your classic round cake. I would say that my decorating style is definitely heavy on the vintage style that you can see from maybe 20 years ago in the 90s or so. It's a lot of heavy piping and very intricate work, but I also like to include more modern elements in that just to kind of bring it up to times. So I like to do heavy purling designs, and usually for those I'll take inspiration from embroidery patterns or jewelry and try to incorporate those into the cake. So when I frost cakes, my tips for getting the cake super smooth would be to have a lot of patience. I've found that every batch of buttercream that I do is very different in terms of how much air it has in it. So just taking the time to really get all the air bubbles out will really make a difference in how your cake looks. And then also when you're prepping the cake for icing, I would focus on your crumb coat and make sure that is as smooth as you can get it, because that will also help you when you're doing the final layer of frosting to get it nice and smooth. While I'm piping, the one thing that's in my head is please don't let these strings break. I've had some days where the strings will just cooperate and I can get this done really fast. And I've also had other days where the strings will just keep breaking and I will be at this for probably like an hour. So that is my main focus right now as I do this. I would say the trickiest part about the whole process is coming up with a unique design for every order. I feel like I've done so many orders now that it's very hard to not repeat designs, because I want to make sure every customer has a unique cake, but of course sometimes some of them want repeat designs, which I'm happy to do, but just making sure everyone gets something unique that will make whatever occasion they're celebrating even more special. Whenever I do a cake design, I feel like I usually stick to the same 4 or 5 tips. I think every baker probably does something similar, but I've really just found the tips that I think work the best for the style of cakes I do, and also the look I'm going for, and the ones that I can kind of trust the most to get me to the design I want. So when you're decorating a cake, there's a variety of tools that you can use. The main ones that you're gonna need are a turntable, a scraper, and then some kind of angled spatula, and then your piping bags and all of your piping tips. I think those are the main things you need, but then if you wanna do extra stuff, you can get edible pearls, ribbons, disco balls, honestly anything, really. I have a lot of decorations I like to use on cakes besides buttercream to just enhance it. My favorite are edible pearls, and then I also have really been loving little bows recently on the side of the cake, or disco balls are always fun. Those are probably my favorite. When I got back into cake decorating, I was, relearning a bunch of skills that I hadn't done since I was 18 or like 10. And so I went on TikTok and I was like repracticing all these new vintage styles, and I kept getting confused as to why some of these more simple techniques I was just struggling so hard with. And then it finally clicked in my brain that I'm left-handed and all these tutorials I'm watching are right-handed people. And so I've been doing everything backwards and I need to mirror what I'm doing. So once I did that and kind of had to flip the switch in my brain, it came a lot easier to me and I figured out how to do it. And that's also how I got the name for my business. So that's how Lefty Cakes came to be. My boyfriend's brother got married in March, and I did his and his, well, now wife, I did their wedding cake for them, and I actually thought it was really special because usually a customer will just put an order in and they don't really see the whole process, they just see the end result. But with them, I did the whole process with them. So they've had cakes before, so they knew what flavors they wanted, and then I took them through the design process. They kind of picked out what they liked, we put it all together, and then they were able to see the cake at each step when I was making it for their big day. I love to decorate cakes because it's kind of my creative outlet, separate from work. I can leave my corporate lifestyle, come home, and still have something I enjoy doing, and there's no real pressure maybe that you'll have in like a normal job. So it's kind of like my job that is also my passion, which is great.